welcome back, everyone. And you are live right here with Talking Trash's podcast, The Peace Talk, episode 7. And as you see, I have some amazing guests with me today. But before we get into the guests, make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can get all the updates. And if this is your first show, you go back and see all the other 6. But today we are talking about mental health, you all, and it is so important. As you know, on the last show we talked about health, and now we're rolling over to dive a little bit deeper into mental health and the importance of understanding how litter affects our mental health. So now our wonderful guest. Okay, we're going to start with the ladies because, you know, ladies first. Over here we have Lakeshia Bell. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. Your energy is amazing in this spot today. So my name is Lakeshia Bell. My business is Elements of Life Coaching, where I am a licensed social worker, a mental health consultant, as well as a certified life and parent coach. And what better way to sort of start with mental health than to sort of just tap into and get ourselves going with the reality of things and also finding ways to build ourselves up. So that's what I'm always doing in the community and within my business. I want to inspire others to just be resilient and find what it is within themselves that keep them going. Like with the plan is to grow, right? And to find ways we can be inspired and inspire others. So that's why I'm here. I believe that's my sole purpose.
Hey.
I appreciate you all for having me here today.
For sure. Thank you for joining us. All right. And last but definitely not least,
Yes.
we have Jordan Campbell. Can you please introduce yourselves? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan Campbell. I am co-founder of Alt Space Chicago, and we work within art, faith, and community, utilizing those as tools to empower, to serve, and to revitalize the culture of Austin, Chicago, the world, and beyond, honestly. And so we look to these tools not only to bring about empowerment, but really thinking about how it can be accessible. Mm-hmm. You know, when we talk about the changes that we need to see in our world and our communities, we have to first start with the person, the individual, and understand that is community. And so for us, recognizing how all those parts play together to form that, you know, functioning and sustainable and love-filled and cared and structured community that we're looking to bring about.
Nice.
And you're an artist.
I'm an artist.
I was like, I ain't gonna let you miss it now. And you're an artist because art plays a huge part in mental health as well.
It does.
Expressing our art and sharing our art. So thank you for being here and all the things that you both do. I appreciate it. It's gonna be a great talk today.
Yes,
I'm excited. But I'm always excited. So
that's so good flow. We need that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. All right. So as we jump into the talk around mental health, first I want to know a little bit more on a personal level. How did this come up in your spirit to do the work that both of you are doing? Where did that start for you?
I'm definitely gonna say my childhood. I always say I think my inspiration came from my grandparents. So my grandparents raised me, and I believe it was having that additional support. My parents were around, but they were the present factors at that moment. And I think that if it wasn't for them taking me in and giving me an opportunity, I don't know where I would have been. And so it almost like a second chance. And I think that that's very huge in the work that we do, is a lot of times we don't get that second chance to try again. And I believe that's what inspired me, just wanting to be a support. I've always been like a listening ear for those around me. So it just developed more and more. And when it came to deciding exactly what I wanted to do and to going into college, my grandmother had a talk and she said, you know what? You may be great at social work. Because I wanted to do everything. I think I was interior design at one moment. And then I wanted to do cosmetology, right? So, you know, I was like, this makes me feel good. It made me feel good to be the person to uplift others when they were going through something. And I didn't even realize it was a gift I had. So I just kept it going. So to see the smiles and to see inspiration when you talk to someone and allow them to just be themselves is what drove me. And I believe it's just creating a safe space. And it felt good to be the safe space for others. So it was like, why not expand what I do and let people know, like, hey, there are people out here who really care, you know, who really want to see you be uplifted and be inspired and be encouraged to keep going, because we do live in communities where the environment plays a major role, right? So as we see the trash we see around and the things that we're going through, it becomes us, and it's inspiring for me to just, again, be that platform for someone else to know that you can do it. And I think that if we inspire our community to know that even with picking up trash and, breathing in good air, we can do it. It just takes one person to lead the band, and then, just see where it go from there. But I believe that we can be, like you said, be the change we want to see. It starts with us. So I can keep going on and on.
Thank you. And shout out to Grandma.
Okay.
Listen,
the grandparents out there.
Everybody who got a praying grandmama, speaking over your grandmama and encouraging your grandmama. We here for all the grandmas of the world, okay?
Yes.
I want to make sure I'm repeating the question. So you asked, what inspired us to do the work or to take ownership, I would say, of the calling that we have within alignment with this work that we're doing. That's the byproduct, right? So,
yes.
Honestly, I think it stems from relationships to me. It stems from my upbringing in Akron, Ohio, where I'm from, and just seeing our culture within my family, and understanding my family's nuance, because I have my mother's family, my stepfather's family, my father's family, and all these other families that were around that, which created, the culture that I grew up in. And so I think what it was this exposure, this diverse, exposure to how people, navigated their own communities and their own spaces. And then as I kind of, see myself in those places, what I was able to gather from that was a sense of care, down to the point of, we prioritize meeting together on Sundays with my mother's family.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And literally going to our own garden that we, planted the seeds, and my grandfather, would show us, this is how you pick this plant. You don't want to take too much off of this leaf or whatever. And really showing this, stewardship, And I think for me, it really showed, this is one aspect of life. And what's important, I think, what helped to inform what I do now is recognizing, not everybody's experience is this.
Absolutely.
I have to be able to see beyond my own experience, my own perspective. And that exposure sometimes can be daunting or challenging for people to see, not everybody has it this way, or there's some people here in this situation and some people down here. And I think for me, it was just seeing those juxtapositions in life that has really compelled me. And I think the other component is simply, my faith as I've gotten older, and life has changed so much as to what I thought it was or what it would be, that it's calling me to respond. It's put me in a position to say, no, I actually do care about my environment. I actually do care about the people in these environments. So therefore, how can I have a response to that? How can I create a way for me to show up, and to offer myself to them to receive?
I love that.
Thank you both for sharing. Those are powerful stories. Come on, for grandparents.
I love that.
Come on, for family.
And we need to bring that back. Like you said, being in the garden, and teaching something new. It's okay to be different and have those passions. And then again, I like how you said that as well. It's almost like we're meeting people where they are, because everyone is different.
And everyone did not have that experience.
Absolutely. Everyone has a different story. So if we can all come together and make a big flower pot, right? And realize that we're different shapes and sizes and experience, I think that brings us together even more. So I love how you put that. That was beautiful. Absolutely.
And thank you both again for sharing your story.
Sure thing.
Now, we're talking about mental health, y'all. And so I'm going to keep it on the personal note. Now, we all have our mental health struggles and our ups and downs, but we're going to talk about being on the front line of this work, being in the community, in these streets. It can be tough, like Jordan said. It can be daunting work doing this work. So for you, where has your mental health journey taken you as far as doing the work, and how can you take care of yourself at the end of the day while taking care of the community and trying to better the community?
Oh, that's a great question. I solely believe it starts with first realizing that we're all human and that no one is perfect. As I do this work, it was very important for me to, as a life coach, seek a life coach, you know, and sit down and open up and find things within myself, or actually put a word to that, find the traumas within myself so that I can actually deal with it, you know, and then from there, talking about therapy and mixing wellness and mental health together, because it all goes together, it coincides. Absolutely. It's a matter of being able to say, you know what, let me step out of the taboo mindset and say, it's okay to have a therapist. You know, it's okay to talk to someone and open up in order so that you can heal properly.
Absolutely.
And I believe that once you start to become a creature of your own habit in that positive way, we're realizing, like, you know what, let me get this stuff off of me. And we all grew up in the mindset where we say, well, what happens in the home, stay in the home. Well, then the home sometimes is one of the worst places to be. How they say sometimes family can be your worst enemy. Sometimes you have to kind of walk through those moments and express and cry and get it out and have those ugly moments. Because like we say, life happens regardless. So it's like, in order to be able to accept someone else and understand, you have to go through it yourself. And that was very important for me. And then as I'm meeting these families that I work with, because I also do DCFS social work, so I realize that people are so different, and people come with so many different backgrounds, and then some families have been in the system themselves, and it's almost like the snowball effect. So it's like, well, wow, like I just said, I need to meet these people where they are. No judgment, right? Coming to them with a clear mindset. Like, I don't care what you did in your past, let's discuss now. And how can we help you move forward from there? Because like you said, we all have a past, right? We all have something that we've been through. But now I am not what I look like. But let's create a new story. You know, let's create you a new platform. And that's what was important to me as I do this. So it's recognizing and letting people know that, no, you are not what you look like, but let's do something else. You know, there is a deeper flower within you. Like, let that light shine. But some of us don't have the platform or safe space, as I mentioned, to allow that to happen, right? We feel judged. We're not knowledgeable about the resources that are in our community. And I believe that's where it starts. So for me, it was like, you know what, let me take off this. I don't care how many degrees I have. Who cares? You know, how I dress, who cares? I'm coming to you as her. I am trauma as well. But let's break those chains. So that was very important for me as I talk about mental health. You know, it has no color. It looks the same in many different households. So how can we correct that opposed to pointing the finger and talk about what you don't have, but what do you need?
Right.
So that's where I come from as it relates to that piece of mental health, and then making sure the work that I do is like, no, let's put this out here. It's okay. Come get this service. Come get what you need. Come get this hug. You know, come get this smile.
I loved how you said, like, I can't be out here therapizing to other people. It's like, I ain't got a therapist myself.
Okay, you know?
And that's the thing I think people have to realize. Like, in 2024, I say this all the time. In 2024, I think everybody on this planet needs a therapist.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody needs
someone
a
to talk to.
The children, the middle age, the elders, like, everybody needs a therapist. Just because life gonna life.
There you go.
Every time life is gonna life. And so how do we work through that, especially when we're not being taught emotional literacy? We're not being taught these things at school. And then just a quick plug, shout out to the Healing Academy. Y'all know we raising up this school, you know what I'm saying? So that we can teach these things on a foundational level. And like you were saying, wellness.
Yes.
Wellness. It's, and we separate mental health, regular health, you got physical, you got all of these things. It's all wellness, because the mental, the physical, the spiritual, it all goes together. And if you ignore one, the other ones ain't going to be as best as they can be. And it starts with our mind. Everything starts with our mind. And then it goes to all the other places.
Exactly. And it bring it back to the piece of self-care, and I talk about it anytime I get to. You know, we oftentimes misconstrue self-care with getting our hair done, our nails, or sit. And I'm like, no, let's get that underneath taken care of. But no, get that mental health done. Like for me, I go and I'll do massages. I let everything, turn off everything. You lay there and relax. You know, walk along the lakes, turn your music up. But how are you tapping into yourself as it relates to the internal piece? Because if you can look good on the outside, but if those insides and that mind frame is not together, it's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Okay, so we got to tap into that and get used to knowing that not only do I look good on the outside, but I feel good and I look good on the inside as well. And it shows, it radiates.
And spend that same amount of energy. Like, we put a lot of energy a lot of times into our appearance and a lot of money. If we're gonna talk about it, we also put a lot of money into our appearance and making sure that we're showing up as our best self physically.
Absolutely.
Our hair done. Now haircuts is about $100. I don't
Okay.
know if you want to speak how much you spend on your haircut, but at a time, women spending like, look, they say, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Women spending hundreds of dollars on hair, sometimes thousands of dollars. You got these lashes. Now you got your nails. You got your feet. You got your cuts. You got your liners. You got your fits. You got all of this money that you're investing on your exterior, but we want to invest that same time, energy, and funds on our interior and our mental.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we need to shift. But thank you for sharing, because it is a difference between going to get your hair done or going to get your hair cut, which can definitely be a part of your self-care, but also how are we looking inward as well. Jordan, you want to add?
Yeah. I think when it comes to mental health, for me, is slowing down and being sensitive to myself, but also to like what spaces I'm in, because I think like what you do is a result as to who you are, and so when I look at like who I am and the things I'm doing or not doing, I really got to pay attention, like the inner conversations that happen, you know, because I think, you know, just to like give a specific point, we talk about violence a lot and violence prevention. But I think a lot of the violence is happening in the mind before it becomes the actual manifestation of violence, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of these things we're doing are kind of like addressing only the surfaces, as you were speaking to. And for me, it's like always thinking about the inner part, right? It's the scripture that talks about the cleansing of the inside of the cup versus the outside, which a lot of times is what we kind of see. But what I think is important is to do what we're doing right now, which is to highlight those differences, which you're providing, is to say, no, like there's dignity, there's pride, there's beauty in us endeavoring this challenging process of taking a look at what's going on inside and internally. But I also think too is recognizing that, you know, for people, mental health has not been a common thing. You know, this is like a new thing. If we look generations beyond or in the past, somewhat of a luxury to take this type of risk to actually slow down and to say, no, actually that did hurt me, or the things that are taking place in this world
especially for us.
And so it's like, for me, I gotta start there and recognize that this is a new process in which we're endeavoring, and yet we have so many people talking about it, which can kind of, you know, be challenging for folks who've never experienced it, or kind of make you feel like an outsider to something you need. And now that's where I was speaking about it earlier, is accessibility to this. Because what does it look like to actually have a therapist that fits and meets the lifestyle that you have?
There you go.
When you're working every single day, or you got kids to take care of, like,
Or affording a therapist.
literally,
Yes.
that accessibility. So it's like that challenge to me is where I start with when I look at it overall and seeing how there's other forms of that we can get to before we get to that like formal therapist, like like slowing down and being able to read or digest information, of like feeding the mind positive and like holistic things versus like constantly listening to music or stuff that doesn't build you up, or that doesn't edify you, or the company you keep, and starting to recognize like, well, like being sensitive to yourself, like I get a certain feeling when I'm in this environment or this space, and like keeping note of that. You know, not saying you got to do something about it right now, but just being mindful and speaking to yourself first, and then being able to connect. With other people. So I think for me, like, it's a lot of stuff I've experienced within the last couple of years, and I've been just trying to slow down and like pay attention to me and other people, and that's hard because it's like I'm a front-facing person. I'm like, you know,
but get it.
I know that life.
But I'm recognizing if I don't do that, then I won't, you know, be able to, like I said earlier, like live out that call that I know God has put on me to do, to share with other people. So
I think that's such a valid point. Like, especially for people, that's why I brought this question to the forefront. Like, we are all right there on the front line. We are all, helping others. We're doing this. We're doing that. And it's like, all right, when do a friend of mine, shout out to Amadilo Kazan, he did a documentary, and it was about who heals the healers, right? So you have these people that are activists, that are healers, that are doing the work because they're called to do it. They know it's necessary. But I think very much so there is that time where we have to step back and say, you know what? From this time to this time, I'm not gonna do anything.
Absolutely,
and that's okay.
Yes.
And I know for doers, that's very hard to be like, you know what, I'm gonna step back, and right now I'm gonna heal me.
Absolutely,
I'm gonna focus on me. I'm gonna listen to me so that I can be an asset to everybody else when I come back. And I think. And again, if you're a parent, I know that could be hard. If you're a spouse, that could be hard. It could be difficult. But those difficult things are sometimes the most important things to do. To say right now, it just has to be about me, and that's okay.
It's okay to say no.
No is a hard boundary that we gotta adapt.
Absolutely.
Like, nope, I can't do that because it's about me right now.
And boundaries in place. Yeah,
and that's okay. Thank you both, honestly, for being vulnerable, for being open, and for sharing a piece of your story and how you feel. And because so many people have so many different realities, and we talked about how social emotional learning is not taught, and we have these different experiences. We have the music that is.
Just paying attention to what you're digesting and what you're consuming. That's it. Music, food.
I tell people watch what you eat, and I'm not just talking about food.
Oh my goodness,
I'm not just talking about food. I am talking about food too, but not just food. I say you gotta watch every hole in your body. And I said what I said. Every hole in your body, you need to be mindful of what's entering it, because energy is a thing. If we're talking about environments, going into certain spaces and how that makes us feel, if you walk in and you instantly like, you probably should walk back out. Honestly, you may not, but you probably should hit the door and turn back around. Like, you know what, I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip side, and that's okay too. You don't owe anybody anything when it's coming to putting yourself first and what you feel. You have to be mindful of that, because I think society makes us feel like we have to go, do, bend to other people. But no, I don't have to be at this party if I don't want to be at this party. I don't have to drink that liquor if I don't want to drink that liquor. I don't have to do this because you say so. And that's okay, because that sits right with me.
Listen to self.
You gotta listen to self. And so in those situations where people have all of these external forces, the music that they're listening to, that's programming, the TV and the videos and the social media that we're watching, that's programming. Even the food we eat, that's programming our body. All of these different things, again, every single hole, including the energy field around you, you gotta be mindful of what you're allowing into your space, into your body, into your mind, into your heart, and into your spirit. And because we have all these external forces, and bringing it back to why we're here, we talking trash. We see our communities becoming a landfill. We see buildings falling apart. We see trash all over the ground in the expressways. We see even spaces that were created to be beautiful trampled over. And so mentally, why do we think we're at this place where we just do not care about our environments and our communities? We're throwing trash, we're seeing it, we're not picking it up. How do you think mentally we got here? And I know that's a loaded question, because it can be a lot of things.
I can jump in on that one. Just first, to me, I think I kind of alluded to this before, is like recognizing how we see ourselves first, and recognizing like that when it comes down to this trash issue, it's a lot of language, and language is very powerful.
Very.
Yes. There's a lot of language that's highlighting and speaking and emphasizing the problem, the issue, the problem. But we don't put a lot of energy or as much emphasis on solutions that are being provided or given or people are coming up with. Like, for example, I love when I see those small trash bags on fences. Like, that's a symbol to me. That's a sign that somebody cares. They're like, yo, put your trash here.
You ain't got nowhere else. You got this bag
right here. And we don't talk about that. Like, it's overlooked. It's like, oh, people don't care. It's like, no, like, that is a sign. That is a symbol. How can we get behind that movement? How can we support what that person is doing and put energy into that instead of putting energy into the problem. And I think for me, that's where it starts with, is us realizing like we're putting so much energy into the issue versus a solution. And I think when I think about scripture, like I'm gonna keep going back to that. That's my foundation. So Nehemiah is one of those characters I love, and Esther as well. Read about him. But essentially what Nehemiah did was focused on the solution. Was like, yo, the issue is that the wall is torn down. What we need to do is build it. And I'm not worrying about the people here to tear it down. What we're gonna do is put a sword in one hand and a spade in the other. So while we're building, we're gonna protect it. And I think that's what I'm really focused on, and I think that's what is needed. And that to me allows for anybody to plug in instead of it being a select few that can address these issues. Because it's like, no, like I have an idea, this is one of the problems in it, and it makes it more inclusive, and it allows for us to have more of a democratic or democratized movement if we approach things that way. I think lastly, it's important to recognize like we got to have grace. You know, like
that's my thing. I love that.
When we have this sense of grace to slow down and recognize like, yo, these are long-standing issues and they were intentionally created, and there's byproducts of that we're not even going to be able to recognize with the you know, plain eye, but seeing that there's fruit from those systems that we're not even going to know. There's seeds that's planted. And so what we have to do now is cultivate anew and cultivate something that we're able to truly value and create those systems of value and honor those systems that we now develop together, you know, and recognize it's going to take time. It's not something that you can just rush.
Absolutely.
Even though a lot of things are, you know, like so quick nowadays.
They said a microwave generation.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Right now,
It's
1 minute.
It's like a little balance. It's a little balance. We got to be flexible and adaptive. You know, like you were talking about this idea of transformative. You know, there has to be this sense of recognition of this transformative approach. And that means looking at the older generations and learning from them, sitting at their feet to understand what did you guys do? What are some of the challenges you face? Because they're no different. They just put on a different cloak.
Right.
You know, but we miss those opportunities when we just like, oh, we need to do something. And this is the issue. Like, no, like, let's take some time and be intentional. You know, so.
I think those are very valid points.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And for me, I always ask, but why, right? So when there is an issue posed, I go, okay, yeah, that's a problem. Absolutely, right? But why? How do we get here? What caused this to be a thing?
Yep.
Because if you can figure out what caused this to be a thing, then you can create solutions if they don't already exist, or plug in the solutions that you do know that exist.
Yeah.
So it's always a but why for me. Everything ends up in there. And like you said, systematically, there have been so many things put in place. Specifically, if we're going to talk about melanated people in this country, but melanated people in general, there's so many things systematically that have been set up that led us to where we are today, that leads to the issues that we have today. How did we get here? But also, how can we fix it? And I feel like when we look at our communities, there's a lot of hopelessness. And then you do get those glimmers of hope, because I live in a world where I'm like, I don't see the reality that they have on the news. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't see that. Like, my community's popping. Like, you know what I'm saying? We talking trash. We got all space. We got educators. We got healers. We got all of these people. We got musicians. We got artists. Like, my Chicago, my community, my black people are thriving and popping. So I don't see the narrative that they see, but I know it exists.
There you go. Yep.
And that's the part I think we got to be mindful, because we do create our own realities, and we plug in with the energy that suits us best. So yes, in my village, it's popping and thriving, but that's not everything.
Exactly. Because
right across the street, it's a whole lot of other stuff
going
real. Down. Right? You know, it's a whole lot of other stuff going down. So mentally, again, going back to that mental state of where some people in our communities are, what is that mental state? How did we get there? And then what are those solutions that we can bring to the table, or that already exist that we can plug in, so that we don't continue to have the issues that we're having?
I know for me in my community, it took someone to lead and for me to see an example of people cleaning up, and now I found myself outside. Now I'm the one with the bag on the fence, and getting my gloves and picking up trash because it looks bad. And like you say, we are what we eat, we are what we see, and some of us see so much of the trash around, and our energy becomes that, which is why we respond and out of ugly spaces, because that's the environment that we're around. And I do believe the more we can get people on one accord, like I heard togetherness, right? And creating that solution. And then I heard village, because that was something that we heard oh so often, is that it takes a village. And I do believe that we've gotten so far away from that mindset. And the more we can gravitate toward that and to know that it's okay to want a clean community. It's okay to be that one person picking up trash and you see somebody out the window like, oh, she can clean up, it to inspire someone else to do it. And you never know, somebody else may come out with their broom, sweeping up the sidewalk, So which is why for me in my community, West Pullman, I started doing block parties, right? So we had gotten away from that concept. Yeah. We were coming up, that was something that we did, right? We planted flowers, like you said. We made sure that our community looked well and that people didn't walk across the grass and things like that. And but to just show that life exists here, and if we continue to take care of our community, it makes us feel good, right? And so as we walk out during the summertime and we hear those birds chirping, not only does the sound make us feel good, but to see our environment kept up, it makes us feel good, right? So now I'm creating those block parties. We can say, let's come out here and make a community day. So we're all out here cleaning up. But here's some bags, right? Let's put some ribbons on a tree. How do we get together? How do we come together? And how I used to say, do block party committees, right? Well, we might not want to put together a committee or actually a block party, but at least we all on one accord, or a neighborhood watch, right? Getting back to those concepts, or just meeting, have little picnics and environments where we bring each other in and to let each other know, like, it's okay to be neighbors again. And I believe that that's ultimately where it starts from, right? Getting together with some of these community resources, whether it's the aid office, and have them come out and ask them, hey, what jobs do you have? What resources? So I'm on the 119th off houses, so I'm going to give a shout out to Phalanx, right? So they're in the community and they're providing resources to people who need employment, right? Parents who are trying to get back on their feet from being incarcerated and things like that. Like, those are more of the resources that we need, and to show, like, hey, we're working together, we're building. These things do exist, we do care. Getting with those neighborhood stores and ask them, hey, can you donate some garbage bags, some tools, some shovels, like, to help us pick up, to make our community come together. Closed mouths don't get fed, and I do believe it does take someone to initiate those things. But like you said, it's something that's not just done overnight, right? We have to encourage one another to get out here and get together and create something that we want to see. So I believe that if we step outside of our comfort zones more, right, and let people know, like I said, that we are here. We not only talking trash, we want to help you learn how to pick up some trash, right, and talk some trash while we doing it. But let's figure out what we need from one another to make this happen. So us stepping out, like I said, of our comfort zones and being willing to be that different person, to put different puzzles together to make one big puzzle is what we need, I believe, to see that change. And it starts with us doing what we're doing now. This is the solution, and that's huge. And I think the more we be encouraged to encourage one another, that this is only going to grow and become even better. And that's the ultimate start.
And I think it's the value. Like, we have to make sure that we not only, before we go out and say, I value my community, I have to value me. So
Absolutely.
It's like we were saying before, you got to prioritize yourself. If it's cutting some stuff off, whatever it may be, you have to say, I'm a prioritize me. I believe in me. I love me.
Yes.
Because quiet as it's kept, a lot of people don't love themselves.
There you go.
Like, really
we
know
lacking that
even
self-conf-
what that means to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, it's so much easier to love everything around you, the people around you. And we're talking about, you mentioned violence, right? And the violence prevention. Love is a violence prevention.
Yes, seriously.
That's the violence prevention.
Absolutely.
For me, everything comes from love, and love can cure all. Because if I love me, and you're a reflection of me, how dare I want to hurt you or belittle you or make you feel bad? And if I love me and I walk in my community and I live here, this is my space, and I love you too, and you live here, whether it's my block or over on the west side or over on the east side, I'm here and you're here and I love you, I'm going to clean this up.
There we go.
And I'm going to talk to you too because I love you. And when you love somebody, you check them.
Exactly. You know what?
Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Brother, sister, cousin, baby. Listen, let's do better.
Exactly. And how they say hurt people, but love people as well.
Yes.
And I do believe that is a first step in acknowledging is being understanding that, you know, I'm doing something different and not being afraid to step out and say, I want you to join me as well. This is what I'm doing. What is your thoughts on this? You know, and then having the opportunity to insert your input, it builds. You know, and like I say, it builds on character, and then the more you realize, like, yeah, of course, everything might not be a yes immediately, but you know, if you keep striving and you keep showing that you are different and you're not going to give up, I believe that's the power that we need. Yeah. So I believe in a community, we have to just start and be okay with doing something different and being that one person to stand out, and then the more you do different, I believe the more people see and recognize it, the more you can get people to gravitate to what it is that you're doing. So it's okay to stand out and be alone. Be that number one person to do it. It's okay. You be surprised what change you bring out of others.
Absolutely. You got to lead by example.
Absolutely.
And people gravitate to you. I'm a quick story. I'm a vegan, right?
Yes.
And so when I went vegan, people thought I was crazy. It was in college, too. So everybody like, what? All they were serving was chicken tenders in the dining hall.
Yes. Yep.
So people just thought I was wild, and they was, you know, cracking jokes and stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever. My choice. I'm going to do me. Years later, those same people were the ones calling me like, hey, when you went vegan, what'd you eat? How you transitioned over? What was the thing? And so you just got to step out on faith. Yeah. And it's so many examples of that in the Bible where it's like nobody's behind me. Nobody sees it. But I'm going to do it anyway. And then eventually...
and people will come on over, yeah.
The people that's meant to come will come. The other ones, you just got to pray for them and keep it moving. Or do what you can over time. I tell my children when I'm teaching and in the community, I plant seeds. I say, you may not get this today. You may not even remember my name. It could be 20 years from now. Life is going to water that seed.
Absolutely.
My job is just to plant it. You may hear something, man, this one lady, this teacher a couple years ago told me that, and it may remind you, but I'm here planting seeds.
Nice.
And if I get one of y'all today, that's a blessing.
There
if I
you
get
go.
3 of y'all next year, that's
There
a
you
blessing.
go.
But over time, you got that word.
There you go.
You got that message.
Amen.
You got that self-love. You got that whatever it was. And life is going to water that. And I hope it takes.
Ooh,
You know?
yes.
And so that's all
absolutely.
what it's about. It's about planting those seeds. So when we go into the community, having grace, knowing that everybody didn't have the influences and the upbringings and the mentors that we have doing this work, we give grace, but we also got to hold people accountable.
Ooh, there you go. That's
a
that
balance.
word. Absolutely.
It's a balance. And knowing that we're just planting seeds.
Amen.
And
Nice.
hoping that it takes, because life is going to, and God and Creator is going to do what it
do.
does.
There you go.
And I think that's the thing. But y'all,
Absolutely.
this was amazing.
Yes.
I appreciate you both, but we not done because I need these resources y'all got because I know y'all
Yes.
got them. Okay. But we also have to tell like all the listeners where they can find you and get in touch with what you all, if you have anything coming up. So here's that time.
Okay.
So let's start with you, Miss Bell. Please let the listeners know where they can find you, how they can tap in, and if you have anything coming up or any resources to share.
Absolutely. So I am on most platforms. So I am on Instagram at Elements of Life Coaching. I also am, have my website, www.elementsoflifecoach.org. I am on Facebook as Lakeisha Bell. And you can Google me, right? Google me, baby. And I am ultimately, like I said, just want to just keep inspiring everybody to do what it is that they need to do. Get what you need for yourself, and just be you. It's okay. And I like how you said that. One of my mottos is be the water to your roots, right? So get what you need and just stay on top of it and don't be afraid. I Google whatever you need. If you need to type something in Google and you find resources, I need mental health resources, I need life coaching. Do what you need. We got those $1,000 phones and we only taking selfies, but we're not using them for what they can really be used for. So get what you need out of life. Don't be afraid. Speak up. Again, closed mouths do not get fed. And for me, I believe the next upcoming thing I have will probably be my block party that I do in July. I am very big on resources, so I have some vendors of all sorts. So resource vendors, I want good eating, food vendors, mental health support, housing, employment.
So I'm gonna be over there.
Bring it on. Like, yes, again, our community needs to know what we have out there. We do not need to keep waiting to the last minute until to need help until it's too late. But instead, what can we use as a preventative? What are the prerequisites when it comes to that? So don't be afraid. Do 311, 211. Those are places you can go and get resources for homelessness, community resources, for food banks, things like that is what we need to be inspired. So use those things. And then again, if you need me, don't be afraid to reach out. Again, I am on Instagram at Elements of Life Coach. My email is elementsoflifecoach@gmail. I'm just putting it out there, using all spaces and avenues. Don't be afraid to reach out. Inbox me. Let's talk. You can do whatever you need to do anonymously. If you don't want to just put yourself out there, just say something like, I don't mind sending you something via email, to your Instagram. I'll mail it to your house, whatever you need. Just get what you need, people. But we are here, so definitely.
The resources are here. I love that. Thank you.
Sure thing.
And I'm going to be at that block party, girl.
Yes, come on out.
So yeah, we have a bunch of websites, so notepad, phone, whatever. But we have Alt Space Chicago as our primarily based website that we house all of our programs as well as our projects and events that we host. And then our Redemptive Plastics.space is the other website where that's specifically focused on our Redemptive Plastics initiative. I think the other thing is we have our Instagram as well, our email address. Everything is literally on our websites. And you can volunteer with us with Redemptive Plastics.
Nice.
Just sign up on our website. Once again, like we have it in March, April, in the following months. We like to do these really robust edutainment kind of processes and volunteering. We like to educate people on like Hazel Johnson and Robert Bullard and talking about these pioneers when it comes to environmental justice. I think that's key, is like we want to help you to be independent when it comes to, being a part of the solution to this issue, this global issue, And so for us, it's like, no, like here's some seeds, like you alluded to and spoke to, that we're trying to plant within you to now go share with other people. So those volunteer opportunities are at least once a month, but we also like to do specialized events as well. So if you're like, yo, we want to do something on this side of the city, we'll figure it out and work together. And we don't always have to be at the forefront. I'm always down to support other people's initiatives. Like that to me is key. And provide resources towards that too, so that the movements can happen.
That's nice.
Everybody, so this is HDPE right here, this type of plastic, and it says it right there, number 2 at the bottom. And so this is what we're typically recycling to make the lumber products that we create out of high density plastics. And so, we got to talk about solutions, right? So we know that plastic is going into incinerators, landfills, and oceans, and it's not really being recycled. So only like 9% of plastic ever created has been recycled. So what we're doing, exactly. What we're doing right here in Chicago on the west side is creating an alternative and redeeming this plastic and putting it to use by creating public furniture, art installations, functioning art installations as we call it, providing jobs for folks, but really trying to address this issue right here in this city. You don't have to wait.
It's beautiful.
You can join and become a part of it now.
Blessing.
Yeah.
And they are beautiful too. They so colorful. And
Talking
pretty.
Trash and Alt Space, Redemptive Plastic, we're going to be all working together anyway. So y'all look
bring it to the house.
Yeah. So it's going to be a blessing. I'm excited for it. I'm so grateful for my team too. All the people, like I said, the volunteers, my team, have made it possible. It's such a blessing. And I would go to say, I think it's important to go to, chicago.gov, look at different grant portals, work with folks who are specifically specialized in grant making, and being able to connect to those outlets, because we got to think about the movements that we're making. They do need different forms of capital, whether it's institutional, whether it's financial or social capital that we need to leverage, is recognizing how all those are different revenues or different currencies. And I think for us, I'm open to, being contacted as well. You definitely have to just schedule me. I'm learning how to do better with my calendar. I'm so grateful for my team, but also I think another resource is just the volunteers, man. Like I think we all wouldn't be where we are without the support of those who kind of show up and recognizing the importance of those who serve. That is a great resource. We always say at Allspace that our greatest asset of our community is the people. And so looking at who's in your community and pouring into them and watching them grow, like you said, planting the seed and watering, and God allows that growth is what I believe, right?
Yeah.
So those are the resources, because there's so much that's within us as people. You look at the building we're in, somebody designed to build this. You know what I mean?
There you
so
go.
Somebody took time to pour into that individual or that group of
Absolutely.
people to make what we're sitting in, this microphone. Everything was designed and made. So I think being able to build relationship is resource.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
That's
learning.
human capital.
Yes.
That's one thing the government ain't figured out.
And so be it.
How
I think,
to invest in it anyway.
Right.
and for me, I think that's something I want to really highlight is, man, look who's around you. Because sometimes it's not that far in terms of reach. It's what's right next to you.
Yeah.
And looking at it from a different perspective and shifting the mind frame that we may have. And I definitely have done that a lot in my life. I'm here in Chicago. I'm from Akron, Ohio. It's a small town to a big city.
Look at that.
But recognizing it's still a place to still build family in a beautiful community.
Yes.
That feels like home.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's it.
I think that's mental as well. The aspect of what home and family and
Yes,
culture
so
and
important.
even resources, what that is to you. And
Right.
you can create that anywhere. And I'm a fine and firm and strong, believer in manifesting your reality.
Ooh, say that.
And people think it's woo woo. I say that word all the time on here, but it's not woo woo. Look it up. What you spend your energy on, what you spend your thought time on, you're creating it. You're calling that energy towards you, and so being mindful on what you're thinking about. Like Jordan said, think about the resources. Don't think about the problem. Think about the resources. Think about the things that we can do to make it better. Think about you. Think about love. Think about life. Think about all of these things and manifest your reality. So the world around you is yours. You're the artist. Pick up the paintbrush and paint that canvas. Okay?
I love it.
And go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just one thing that just dawned on me. We talked about stepping out of these comfort zones. Being present is so important. Literally, I don't know how else to say that. Even within our movement within Austin, we're constantly there. People see us, they know we're committed. You gotta show up. I think that's the first thing is show up as you are.
Yes.
All the other stuff that you got on your head, just show up.
Absolutely.
Just be present. That's important.
And the thing about being present in relations to litter too is we aren't present. So when we talk about litter in our communities, half the time we don't even see it.
Yeah.
We walk past it, we
tune
step
it
over
out.
it, we kick it, but we don't see it because we're not present. We're not here. We're not on this street corner. We're not where we are. And so being present, tuning in is a gift from God, because that's all we really have is the present.
Exactly.
The future is not promised, and yesterday already happened. And so most of our mental space is thinking about the future, the next steps, or what happened and what I should have said, or what I should have did, or what I could have did.
Yeah.
But present is the blessing,
right
because
now.
that is right here. That's literally all there is. It's all we have. So being present and being in love in that present
Absolutely.
can heal
It's
the
everything.
world.
Yes, it is.
Can heal the world. So thank you again so much for being here.
Sure,
This was
thanks
an
for having
amazing talk, and thank you all for watching. We definitely appreciate you. And make sure that you tell a friend about Talking Trash. What's most
Yes.
important about it is that this is our community and it's our responsibility.
Absolutely.
We'll see y'all next time. Welcome everyone. Welcome back. And this is After the Talk. And we are at the Empowerment Zone with Sandra Wright. please introduce yourself and tell us about who you are, what you do, and this beautiful space that we are in.
Awesome. So my name is Chandra Wright. I am co-founder of a Ring of Hope and Just Christ Ministries, just some community organizations where our whole goal and objective is to provide whatever our community needs, right? We are the answer to the problem. You know, oftentimes people are trying to figure out what to do next. We're the solution. And so if we think we have any idea that there's a problem that exists, then we need to be part of the solution. If we're not doing that, then we're part of the problem. So Ring of Hope and this empowerment zone is honestly a space to provide people with opportunities like this. We also do some double dutch. We do some boxing. We do some mental health therapy. We do art. And everything that we do is really to encompass the whole person, the whole family. If you can grab these kids and then you don't deal with the adults, then you still miss it. If you get the adults and you'll do something with the kids, we feel like you still miss it. So our whole purpose is to just minister to the whole family. We want to bring you in whatever aspect is necessary so we can get you healthy, healed, and whole. Right? Yeah, so I mean, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But what we found is whatever we do is really to bring whatever is in these young people out, good, bad, and ugly, right? Because to get to, a lot of times people see our young people and it's just, oh, they just awful. Blah, blah, blah. Well, if we don't help them fix themselves, then we're going to see some awful adults. So if we can get them at this point and get whatever's in them out, and make them understand that diamond that's in the rough, that's up under all that rough exterior that we might see. And even me, like when I was a kid, I was just actually talking to a young woman this morning who I've been mentoring for years. And it's just this whole attitude, well, I'm sick of people and people just keep bothering me and I don't understand. I just got to be by myself. And I'm like, that's not the answer, because then you're going to lose your mind, become a hermit, and then you're not going to even know how to function in a real world. And what I saw in her was me, right? And everybody didn't even know that about me. She didn't know that. Attitude, call you and your mama whatever I wanted to. I wasn't a bad kid, but when I wasn't under the tutelage of my mom, I said what I wanted to say and I did what I wanted to do. And it was really just to defend the fear that I had on the inside of not being accepted by whomever, right? Whether it was my teachers or my friends or even my family. So I went into this place by myself, and the way I came out was to get you. Right? I'm going to get you before you get me. I'm going to make sure I make you feel awful before you make me feel awful. Because in my mind, that was the objective of most people around me. And it wasn't until I understood that it was necessary to love myself,
that part,
that I was able to really be okay with who people were. Right? It wasn't important for me to make people see me the way I wanted them to see me. You know, I just needed to be
that.
You know what I mean? And so, and that's really where my heart is with these young people. That's my heart with our community. Nobody needs to compete and compare about anything. Everybody has a purpose. And if you can get in your lane and stay there, we can do a better job at saving our kids, saving our community, right?
Thank you so much for that. It is very, very important to have spaces like this. So one, I would love for you to tell us about this space, how long it's been open, and then how can people get tapped in, if it's an address, a website, phone number to call, and then what you have coming up.
Absolutely. So we've been here literally for about the last 10, 12 years. And it's like this space, how you can connect with it is simply a phone call. My personal phone number is 773-710-6543, or you can go to Ring of Hope Chicago and you'll see, all the different events we do. If this space is just some place you need to do something like this, we're open. It's about community at the end of the day, and I don't believe that God blessed us with space just to do nothing with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I believe it's for the purpose of, again, saving folks. You know, however we have to do that. Events, so like today, for instance, we're hosting a marriage fellowship. Just so couples can figure out how to get it right. Yeah, I'm 30 years in, but
congratulations.
Shoot, man, girl, I need that. Give me for real. But 30 years, not because I always knew what to do, because we had 30 years because I had opportunities like what we're doing today. Just to invite some people in to talk to some other married couples who may have struggled, who may have on a high road right now. Tell me how to get out of this low place. You know what I mean? Last night we hosted a singles fellowship.
Okay.
And
I should have been here. Man, I missed it.
You should have been here, girl. It started about 7 o'clock, and they literally, the singles hung out till about 11. You know, so we eat a little, we play a couple of games, and just, do some real talk.
Nice.
You know, and
you gotta let me know when that next one coming up.
We'll do. Again, we're taking our double dutch to Miami to do some competition stuff. We oftentimes do like a outside boxing event for the community, and so just yeah.
And what age groups do you work with for your program?
We work ages 8 to 18.
8 to 18.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful range.
However, like we have some little ones. Some of our 8-year-olds have siblings that may be a little smaller. We just can't be like, oh, you can bring your 8-year-old, but you gotta leave your 6-year-old at home.
Right.
So we just find space. If we have to create something, if we have to create a space or pull a coach or pull a program director and have them sit with those particular kids and do some art. Right. Just to get them drawn into, I don't ever want a family to feel like, they can't come because you got this 6-year-old and you got this 8-year-old, and because your 6-year-old can't come, neither can your 8-year-old. No, we just have to figure it out as we go. We don't have all the answers. We're working on it though.
I love it. Well, thank you so much again for being you, for telling your story and sharing your story, being a mentor, and creating this beautiful space that we are in, not only for your congregation and for your community, but for everyone.
Absolutely.
It is so important. Make sure you all tap in ASAP when I tell you this is a gorgeous space and you need to experience it and these beautiful events. And if you got some kids, bring them over.
Bring them on over. So Ring of Hope Chicago is the way to get connected to what we do. You'll be able to go to that page and see whatever you want. You can make comments. You can also donate. But that's it for me. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for what you do. Talking trash.
Thank you.
Yeah. We got to come together, we got to become better, we got to find the difference like the change in the weather. We can't be flowing, dancing in the wind like we some feathers. I'm trying to build a couple homes so we can have some shelter, or maybe feed a couple people so they stomach better. I'm trying to build a nation that go through generations. You gotta have the patience, I wouldn't call it waiting, but honestly all my prodigies gon' be contemplating on ways to break through the curses that had our mamas aching and all our daddies bleeding. I'm trying to find a reason, but I ain't here for weeping, cause our community needs some unity and some peace. I'm trying to go ahead and slay through all our enemies. They trying to go ahead and shake up all our energy. I protect my enemies so my people enter me, learning from our pain and connecting all our synergies.
Take your power back. We can't wait on nobody else to save us. We can and will save us. We got everything we need. Our community, our responsibility.